Ash fell like snow from the broken sky, blanketing the ruins of a city long forgotten by maps or memory. Crumbling facades loomed like the bones of giants, their shadows deepened by the overcast heavens. A cold wind whispered through empty windows, threading through shattered glass and the twisted steel of once proud towers. The man walked alone, his boots crunching against debris, each step deliberate, heavy with intent. His name was Kale, though that mattered little now. The insignia on his dark coat had long faded, stripped by time and fire. Once a soldier, perhaps even a hero, now merely a ghost chasing what little hope remained. The device strapped to his wrist blinked dimly, resonance detected. He was close. He adjusted the rifle slung across his back, but didn't reach for it. Not yet. This place demanded stillness. Reverence, perhaps. The air shifted, a subtle charge, like the moment before lightning kisses the earth. Kale stopped. From the heart of the street ahead, where the ground cracked open like a wound, a figure emerged. She stepped forward slowly, with grace that belied the devastation around her. Pale as moonlight, she was impossibly tall, her limbs elegant, sculpted, and unnatural. Her hair, a cascade of platinum, fell like silk over shoulders encased in obsidian armor that clung to her like second skin. But it was her eyes that arrested him. Silver, sharp as blades and utterly devoid of warmth. "You shouldn't be here," she said, voice low, velvet-wrapped steel. Kale didn't flinch. "I'm not here to start a war." She tilted her head slightly, expression unreadable. "You cross into the veiled threshold. That is a declaration. I came for answers." He gestured behind him toward the empty skyline. "The world out there is dying. You need nothing from us." Her voice cut clean through the air. "You were warned." Kale took a careful step forward. The earth trembled. From behind her, something moved. It didn't appear, it unfolded, as if the ruins themselves bent to make way for it. Scales the color of tarnished emerald caught the sickly light. Two horned ridges arched back from its skull, framing a face both reptilian and intelligent. Its breath was steam. Its gaze burned. Kale froze. The creature coiled behind her like a shadow given form, towering and silent. Its tail dragged scars into the stone, claws flexing lazily, but its attention never wavered from him. No animal instinct in those eyes, only will, measured, waiting. She raised her hand, and the beast stilled. "If you take one more step," she said, each syllable etched in ice, "my monster will destroy you, human." Kale met her gaze, his heartbeat thundering in his chest. He'd seen monsters. He'd fought them in the wastelands, in the dark corners of what was left of civilization. But this was different. This wasn't a beast bred for violence. This was a creature of purpose, bound. "And if I don't," he asked, voice quiet. "Then you turn around," she said, "and carry your desperation back to what remains of your kind. You leave this place unbloodied." Kale studied her. The curve of her jaw, the calm behind her warning, the stillness of the beast beside her. There was no rage in her stance, no hunger for violence, only resolve. She believed herself right, unshakably so. "I was told you held the last living fragment," Kale said, "of the source, that it could heal what's left." She did not answer immediately. A breeze moved the ash between them like whispers from the dead. "That knowledge was sealed by blood and betrayal," she said at last, "and it will not be bartered to the children of ruin." Kale's fists clenched at his sides. "We didn't start the war." "No," she agreed, "but you finished it." Silence fell again, thicker this time. Kale's foot hovered, suspended by hesitation and need. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat. But the faces he carried in his memory, the lives waiting on the edge of extinction, demanded otherwise. "You could kill me," he said, staring up at the monster, "but I won't go back empty-handed." The beast growled, a low, rolling thunder that rumbled in his chest. "You mistake defiance for courage," she said, though her voice was softer now. "Do you truly understand what stands before you?" Kale nodded. "Not entirely, but I'm willing to find out." The wind picked up again. Somewhere in the distance, metal groaned and fell. The sky seemed to darken further, as if the moment itself were choosing sides. She studied him, not with anger, but with something more dangerous, curiosity. "Then you are either the herald of peace," she said, "or the spark of our extinction." The creature's muscles tensed. Kale shifted his weight slightly forward, eyes locked on hers, and the world held its breath. He hadn't moved. Not yet. Kale remained with one foot hovering at the edge of a line drawn in ashen silence. The woman's gaze hadn't faltered. Neither had the monster's. Time stretched between them, taut and trembling. But beneath that stillness, something ancient stirred. Not in the ground, not in the air, but in memory. Kale's mind wandered, uninvited, to another battlefield far from this desolate place. A jungle once thick with life, now scorched by orbital fire. The mission had been clear: retrieve a core fragment from a fallen enemy craft, eliminate resistance, extract before dawn. But clarity had a way of dissolving in blood and smoke. They weren't enemy soldiers guarding the site. They were families, survivors. And the core was no weapon. It was a living node, tethered to the same kind of creature now staring him down. His orders were to secure it. He'd followed them. And when the node had pulsed with pain, when the jungle screamed, not with fire but with mourning, Kale had understood too late. He blinked, and the memory retreated like a tide, leaving only guilt in its wake. The woman shifted slightly, enough to draw him back to the present. Her face, though inhuman, bore the marks of emotion layered with centuries of control. She was not one of the wild-born, the scattered remnants of ancient extraterrestrial clans Earth's militaries once hunted for resources. No, she was a sentinel. The last, perhaps. "You remembered," she said. Her tone had lost none of its steel, but something beneath it had changed. Recognition, maybe resentment. "I've remembered a lot of things I'd rather forget," Kale replied. "But I'm not the same man who stood on that jungle's edge." "Humans never are," she said bitterly. "You shed your guilt like dead skin and call yourselves changed." "I carry mine," Kale said, placing his lifted foot firmly on the ground. He did not advance. "Not yet. Every day." The monster's nostrils flared. Its eyes narrowed, not in aggression, but understanding. Kale had heard stories during the last campaign. Whispers from deserters, and captured scouts who'd barely lived long enough to talk. Stories of the Narvara, the ancient protectors. Beings who did not serve, but chose bonds. Singular, sacred, irreversible. Not mounts, not weapons. Partners. And those they chose, they rarely outlived. The bond, once broken by force, could not be remade. The woman's silver eyes pierced him. "My brother died in that jungle." The sentence fell like a stone. It struck not as accusation, but as revelation. Kale swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. He was the one linked to the node. She nodded once. "His bond was severed when your fleet stripped the jungle's heart." "I didn't know," he said. "None of us knew." Her expression didn't change. "You didn't ask." Silence thickened between them, an ocean of grief separating two continents of loss. "I'm sorry," Kale said at last. It was enough. It couldn't be. But the words hung there, sincere and raw, a rare thing in the aftermath of war. She looked past him then, toward the skyline, or what was left of it. "You said you came for answers. What do you truly want, Kale of the Ash Legion?" He hesitated, not at the question, but at the use of his name. She should not have known it, unless she had seen it on the rosters, or remembered it from the stories, or watched him once, long ago, from the jungle's edge. "I want a way to undo the rot," he said. "The sickness spreading through the last settlements. We thought it was chemical, then biological. Now it's something else. Energy, resonance, a decay we can't contain." But in old files, buried beneath layers of redaction, there were references to a fragment that healed, not harmed. Alien in origin, alive. Her eyes did not widen. She did not appear surprised, only tired. "You seek the Heartstone," she said. He nodded, "if that's what it's called." Her hand dropped to her side. The tension in the air shifted. The monster relaxed its stance, but did not retreat. "You were not meant to find this place," she said. "The fragment is not a tool. It is not something to be wielded. I don't want to wield it, Kale said. I want to survive. No. Her voice was soft now. You want to be forgiven. He couldn't answer that. The woman stepped forward, just once, placing herself directly between him and the beast. Her shadow folded into its own. The Heartstone exists, but it is not mine to give. It is guarded by the oath my people swore long before your kind lit fire to the stars. Kale's hands opened slightly, empty, then let me earn the right to see it. She watched him closely, and if the price is death, he exhaled, steady and slow. Then I die, but I won't leave without trying. Something passed through her, brief and fleeting. Not pity, not respect. Perhaps the memory of a brother who once said the same thing. You will not be able to return the way you came, she said. If you pass this point, you enter a place where time does not forgive, and neither do the dead. Kale's voice was quiet. I have no one left to return to. She didn't reply. Instead, she raised one slender hand, and the creature beside her lowered its head, not in submission, but in assent. Kale's heart pounded, not from fear, but from recognition. This was not victory. This was passage. You will follow, she said. You will see, and if the stone judges you unworthy, there will be nothing left of you. He nodded, understood. And yet, as she turned to lead the way into the cracked earth, Kale hesitated just for a breath, because somewhere in that silence, he thought he heard a voice, familiar, distant, and impossible. A child's voice, laughing, then screaming. He shook it off. Shadows of memory, ghosts he couldn't afford to carry. The woman and the beast moved forward, into the darkness below. Kale followed. The descent was unlike anything Kale had known. The ruins above gave way to ancient stone corridors veined with pulsing light, as if the earth itself held a heartbeat. Dust clung to the walls, but it was not dead dust. It shimmered faintly, stirred by invisible rhythms. The air was thicker here, rich with the scent of minerals and old power. Kale's boots echoed faintly against the smooth floor, swallowed quickly by the oppressive hush. The woman led without speaking, her long limbs moving with the certainty of one who had walked this path many times. The creature, her beast, her guardian, her monster, moved behind them, too large for silence yet somehow still reverent. Its claws tapped gently, echoing less like menace and more like a ritual. They came to a gate, not mechanical, but grown. Tendrils of some translucent mineral wove together into a lattice of colorless crystal, shifting as if alive. The woman placed her palm against it. The gate quivered, then parted, retracting in fluid spirals. Kale stepped through and felt the temperature drop. Not cold, something more primal. A cooling of thought, a slowing of instinct, as though time no longer clung tightly to him. The chamber beyond defied logic. It had no true walls, only arcs of floating stone and glowing strands of light suspended in air. In its center, hovering above a platform of obsidian, pulsed a fragment no larger than a man's heart, faceted like a gem, but with veins of living energy threading through it like capillaries. The Heartstone. Kale couldn't breathe for a moment. Not from awe, but recognition. It wasn't the first time he had seen it. Only the first time he'd seen it clearly. A memory surfaced, hazy and broken. In the jungle, amidst the smoke and screaming, he had glimpsed something through the fire, a shape pulsing, a fragment untouched by destruction. He had walked away, never realizing it had watched him go. The woman turned to face him. You came seeking a cure. This is the source. But it will not offer freely. He stepped forward, every instinct alert. What is it? She looked at the Heartstone, and for the first time, something like grief crossed her expression. It is a remnant of the first convergence, a living echo of when our worlds touched, before war made monsters of us all. It is not a machine, nor is it wholly sentient. It remembers. It judges. Kale's voice lowered. And if it find me unworthy? The creature behind him rumbled, low and ominous. It will end you, she said simply. But perhaps that would be mercy. He stepped closer to the platform, pulse hammering. The Heartstone pulsed in time with his breath, then faltered, sinking, then resisting. Images flashed across his mind. A battlefield. A young girl, barely 10. coughing blood in a sterile shelter, her skin blotched with corruption from the decay. A command officer barking through a comlink, ordering the burning of a village suspected of harboring resonance anomalies. His own hands bloodied, carrying a wounded enemy scout, young, scared, and far too human, who died before he could ask her name. He staggered. The visions came faster now, flashes of his life, not as he remembered it, but as the Heartstone saw it. Every choice, every hesitation, every lie told for the sake of survival. He dropped to one knee, breath ragged. The weight was unbearable. His regrets manifested not as thoughts, but as chains around his ribs, tightening with each revelation. Behind him, the woman stood silently, watching. The creature let out a sound not unlike mourning. "I didn't come to be forgiven," Cale whispered, barely audible. "I came because there's no one else left to try." The Heartstone pulsed brighter. The chamber dimmed, shadows tightening into spirals. The woman stepped forward slightly. "It listens. It always listens." Cale looked up, then let it see everything. He stood, not defiant, not proud, but resolute. His arms spread, not in surrender, but in invitation. The Heartstone responded. Light enveloped him, not searing, but probing, scouring every hidden fear, every selfish decision, every cowardice masked as caution. It pierced into the core of him and found the hollow places. Cale cried out, not in pain, but in exposure. Then something shifted. A spark, not from the stone, but from him. Not purity, not righteousness, just will. The same will that made him step past the monster into this impossible place. The same will that had made him carry the wounded, bury the fallen, and continue on when so many others had fallen to despair. The Heartstone dimmed, then pulsed again, softer. The chamber brightened. Cale stumbled back. The stone remained hovering, unchanged, but the sensation had passed. The light no longer pierced him. It acknowledged him. He turned to the woman. "Did it?" She nodded slowly. "It has seen. It has not rejected you. Is that enough?" "For beginning," she said. "But beginning is not a cure." Cale let the words sink in. He had not won. He had not been chosen. But he had not been cast aside. And in this world, that was enough. The woman approached the Heartstone, placing her palm beside it. "It may allow a fragment to be taken, if it deems your cause worthy. But I will not touch it. That must be yours alone." Cale hesitated. "And the consequences?" She gave a small, sad smile. "You know them already. Power always demands something in return." The monster stepped beside her now, silent and massive, but watching, waiting. Cale stepped to the edge of the platform, heart steady now. He reached out, not with desperation, but with purpose. As his fingers brushed the surface of the Heartstone, warmth spread through his arm, then further, into his chest, his spine, his mind. Not pain, not bliss, a fusion. And with it came a single word, not spoken but imprinted. Balance. His knees buckled. The world tilted, then steadied. The Heartstone pulsed once, then split. A shard no larger than his palm hovered before him. He reached out, took it. It was cool, solid, alive. Behind him, the woman lowered her gaze. "It is done," she said. Cale turned, clutching the shard. "What happens now?" "You return," she said. "But the rot will not fade simply because you carry light. It must be guided." Cale understood. "Then guide me." For the first time, she seemed surprised, not by the request, but by the sincerity. "You are bold." "I have to be," Cale said. "There's nothing left but boldness." She glanced at the creature. It rumbled, a sound like approval. "Then we go together," she said. "But know this. If you stray for what this fragment has shown you, it will not save you a second time." "I won't," Cale said. The three turned and began to climb back toward a world that had already changed. The surface was no longer familiar. Cale stepped from the mouth of the cavern and blinked against the harsh light of a bruised sky. The horizon, once distant and dry, now seethed with unnatural clouds, veins of violet threading through them like the disease they mirrored. The wind carried not sand, but whispers, faint, almost imperceptible but present. They spoke in no language he recognized, and yet he understood. Warnings, reminders, echoes of what he carried. The woman emerged beside him, her expression unreadable. Behind her, the beast lumbered out last, blinking against the brightness with a slow, patient menace. The Heartstone shard pulsed faintly in Kale's gloved hand, not with urgency, but with awareness, almost as though it were gauging the world it had returned to. No one came to meet them. The outpost that had once stood a few kilometers east lay collapsed in a spiral of melted steel and scorched earth. The sky that was darker, the air thinner. Decay had moved fast, too fast, even for this war-stricken world. Kale scanned the ridges. No drones, no patrols, no signals, just the quiet hum of a planet tired of bleeding. "We're late," he said. The woman closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. "You were always going to be." He turned toward her. "You speak like you've seen this before." "I have," she said. "In dreams passed down from the last bond-bearers. The world always falls first, then waits to be rewritten." Kale looked to the horizon again. "And if we fail, then it ends," she said. "Not with fire, not with ice, but with forgetting. The land will forget its shape. The air will forget to carry breath. You will forget yourself." The shard in his hand warmed, pulsing once. Kale felt it again, the faint whisper of a presence within it. Not sentient, not commanding, but urging. "Begin." He started walking. They made their way toward the remains of the settlement, their shadows stretching long behind them. Along the way, the signs of collapse grew more severe. Machines gutted from the inside out, earth that buckled in waves, like it had tried to resist something tunneling through its veins. Bodies, some human, some not, fused of metal and crystal in grotesque sculptures of stillness. Kale's grip tightened on the shard. "This isn't just decay. It's rewriting." The woman nodded. "The rot isn't killing. It's transforming." He knelt beside one body, a boy not older than 15, his chest cavity open like a flower of iron and light. No blood, just ruin. His eyes were wide open, pupils shot with silver. "This isn't what we were told," Kale muttered. "They said the decay was molecular, environmental." "They lied," she said simply, "because they feared what it meant." Kale stood. "And what does it mean?" She turned to him. "That something ancient has begun again. The war wasn't to conquer. It was to delay." He stared at her. "Delay what?" She looked down at the shard. "This." The Heartstone shard pulsed again. This time, brighter, stronger. It had found something. Kale turned slowly. The light from the shard stretched ahead, casting a thin beam toward a fissure in the ground. Not natural. Too smooth, as though something beneath had exhaled and left the world cracked open. He moved toward it without needing to be told. Inside, the walls pulsed with the same energy as the shard. Resonance. This was a root, one of the rot's arteries. The woman stopped him with a hand to his chest. "Once we go in, it will know. The entity behind this. It slumbers in the deep, but the stone will wake its gaze." Kale looked her in the eyes. "Then let it look. I'm not hiding anymore." She stepped aside. They descended together, the light growing stronger with every meter. The space inside resembled the chamber of the Heartstone, but corrupted. Where the stone below had pulsed with life, this place echoed with something more hollow. A mimicry, a reflection, dark and imperfect. And at its center stood a figure, not quite human, not quite alien. It had no face, only a mask of moving light. Its body rippled like mist trapped in armor, and when it turned toward Kale, he felt the weight of ages settle on his shoulders. "You carry the shard," it said, in a voice both many and none. "But you are no bearer." Kale stepped forward. "I'm the only one left." "That is not the same." "It is now," Kale replied. "The world is dying, and you are the cause." "I am the result," the entity said. "You severed the world's veins long ago. I only rise to fill what you hollowed." Kale could barely stand beneath the voice's pressure, but the shard flared in his hand, and the weight lessened. "You feed on endings," Kale said, "but we've begun again." The entity tilted its head. You think one shard, one broken man, and a beast bound by grief can undo what eons have accepted? Kale stepped closer. No, but we can remind the world it hasn't surrendered yet. He raised the shard. The light exploded, not outward, but inward, into the chamber, into the corruption, into the rot. The scream that followed was not sound. It was thought, rejection, fury. The walls buckled. The floor cracked. The woman threw out a hand, anchoring him with force unseen. The creature beside her roared, unleashing a wave of resonance that tore into the entity's form, forcing it back. Kale dropped to one knee, driving the shard into ground. The light pulsed outwards in concentric waves, burning to the mimicry, the hollowness, the infection. Every pulse pushed the entity back, fraying its shape. You were never meant to stay, Kale whispered. You were only ever a shadow. The entity began to fracture, but not before it lunged. The woman screamed, not in fear, but warning. Kale turned just in time to see the beast leap between them, intercepting the blow. Its body convulsed, cracking with dark energy. No! Kale surged forward, but it was too late. The entity imploded, collapsing in a storm of light and void. And when the silence returned, the creature lay still. Kale stumbled to it, dropped to his knees. Its chest still rose. Barely. The woman knelt beside him. Her eyes glistened, but she did not weep. He chose, she said. Kale placed a shard beside the creature's heart. Light flowed from it into the wound, sealing it slowly. The beast breathed deeper. Not healed, but not dying. Kale exhaled, exhausted. The woman placed her hand on his shoulder. It's begun. He looked up. What has... She gestured to the walls. Where there had been rot, now grew veins of green. Life. The rewrite, she said, but not their version. Kale rose, body aching but whole. He looked at the world above. And for the first time, it didn't look like the end. It looked like a beginning.